Hey, yo, what up? Welcome. This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. 2025, man. We rolling right into it. There's a lot that I want to discuss. So there's going to be a few videos. I don't know when. You might get two today. You might get some over the weekend. Like, I don't know. There's just a lot to discuss. The holidays fell behind a little bit, but I wanted to update because there have been some developments on this Jay-Z situation. There's a few updates that happened over the past week or so. So I just wanted to talk about it. We're going to follow this case. I mean, it's a huge deal. In December, I'm just recapping right now. In December, as we know, hopefully, if you've been following, if not, I'll catch you up. In December, an anonymous woman refiled the lawsuit through her attorney, Tony Busby. Originally, the lawsuit, which was previously filed, alleged that Diddy raped the Jane Doe when she was 13 years old at a 2000 VMA after party. In December, the lawsuit was refiled and also named Jay-Z in the alleged assault. Like, pretty heinous, pretty serious stuff. Jay and his lawyer, Alex Spiro, went on and released statements and motions in the court and attacked the credibility of the lawyer Busby and asked the court to rule that either the Jane Doe cannot proceed anonymously or for them to throw out the case, right? They went, they didn't go quietly. They didn't, they made headlines themselves. Jay and Spiro made headlines themselves and were very, very vocal about their feelings and having, one denying, first of all, let's put that out there because some people seem to question whether or not Jay actually denied it. Jay has denied that he's done any of this, and they've been very combative and on top of it and filing motions in the court, a lot of letters back and forth. So last week on December 26th, the day after Christmas, in a written order, U.S. District Judge Annalise Torres said that the woman can proceed anonymously. All right, so she ruled that the woman can proceed anonymously at this early stage of the litigation, but she did say that the woman may be required to reveal her identity at a later date if the case proceeds. That would allow defense lawyers to collect facts and necessary information to prepare for trial, right? CBS News reported this, and CBS News has been all on top of this and very important in the reporting of this. CBS News reported the Manhattan jurist also chastised Alex Spiro, that's Jay's lawyer, the lawyer representing Jay-Z, whose legal name is Sean Carter, for what she described as his relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks against the plaintiff's lawyer, calling them inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. All right. Torres wrote in her order Thursday that Spiro, who has been on the case less than 3 weeks, has submitted a litany of letters and motions attempting to impugn the character of the plaintiff's lawyer, many of them expounding on the purported urgency of this case. In response to the ruling, Tony Busby, the plaintiff's attorney, told CBS News in an email Thursday evening that he doesn't typically comment on court rulings, but alleged that the coordinated and desperate efforts to attack me as counsel for alleged victims are falling flat. That was from a CBS News report. Again, this was last week. I'm catching you up on last week. To me, this feels like the judge is really trying to take control of this case. All right, let's be real. As soon as the news hit, Jay-Z and Spiro attacked this head on and combated it in the court and through the media. Jay released several statements. We've never seen Jay release so many statements. Again, denied it. But Busby is using the media too. He's playing the same game. The fact that guilty, innocent, whatever, the court decides, right? Once there's a headline out there that says Jay-Z raped 13-year-old girl, damage is done. There's a considerable amount of damage that is done. And look, man, it was also, that story broke, if you remember, the day before Jay was to hit the red carpet with his daughter for starring in her first movies. What happens at the red carpet, man? There's press, there's questions, there's things being thrown at you. And maybe, the Carters typically choose when they speak to press or not. Maybe they weren't going to speak to press anyway. But you had to go on the red carpet the day after that. On your daughter's the premiere. It was meant to be damaging. And I think the timing of when this came out was meant to be damaging. So Busby and the plaintiff and everybody, like, they're using the media, right? On both sides. And for Jay, I don't fault Jay and Spiro for combating this with their resources and urging the court to make this go away quickly, because who would want this lingering, right? So I get it. But what the court is saying and what the judge is doing is saying, hey, we're doing this on the court's time. You don't get to dictate how fast or slow this moves. We're doing this on the court's time. That just seems to be the tone of what the judge is saying here. So definitely last week didn't help Jay's cause. You know what I'm saying? But it was really because really what you have are two, the plaintiff and the defense, like trying to take control of the narrative, trying to pull, and not just convince the people, but convince the court of to rule in their favor. And what the judge is saying is like, nah, the court is going to decide. So this is the court kind of just taking control. This is what this feels like to me. Now, yesterday on January 2nd, things swung in Jay-Z's favor. So a week later, things swing back in Jay-Z's favor as Judge Torres granted Spiro's request to file a dismissal motion. So in a letter to the judge, Spiro says that he'll raise the following arguments in his motion for the courts to consider. So Jay and Spiro still want this thrown out, and they still proceed to file motions to have this thrown out and not even go to trial, and submitted a letter saying, hey, this is what we're going to argue. And I'll read part of that letter and what it is. And the court ruled in their favor, saying, okay, we're going to allow you to file this motion. So what Spiro says in his letter: first, plaintiff cannot recover for her sole claim under the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act as a matter of law because the statute does not have retroactive effect. Plaintiff asserts a violation of the GMV law for conduct that purportedly occurred in September 2000. So this has to do with like a statute of limitations kind of situation, this Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Act that went into effect actually December 19, 2000. So it covers everything after that. But what the victim is alleging is that this happened in September 2000. So what Spiro is saying is that it doesn't fall into the timeline. But so he says, plaintiff asserts a violation of GMV law for conduct that purportedly occurred in September 2000, but the GMV law was not enacted until December 19, 2000, 3 months after the FAC claims the conduct occurred. The FAC stands for, I have it right here, it's the amended complaint. Remember the complaint was against Diddy and then it was refiled and amended. So FAC is the amended complaint. So the FAC claims the conduct occurred and cannot apply retroactively to create a cause of action unavailable to plaintiff at the time of question. He cites in his letter some other cases where they dismissed the GMV law claim. And so there's that, right? So they're arguing on the technicality here as that Jay, and remember, this is a civil suit. This is a lawsuit, cannot be, they're saying that the plaintiff cannot recover when they recover damages for the sole claim under, they're doing under the GMV. They're saying they can't do it because it wasn't in effect. The timelines don't match up. There's a bit of a, this is all like legal loophole stuff. And then he writes, second, even if the GMV law had retroactive effect, it does not. To prevail, plaintiff must show that the violative conduct was committed within New York City. So there's another loophole. The GMV law is a New York law, so they have to prove that it happened within New York City for it to hold up. It says the FAC, again, that's the amended complaint, the lawsuit, alleges that the violative conduct is forced sexual contact, but does not assert that this conduct occurred in New York City, nor could it. According to the complaint, plaintiff was driven from Radio City Music Hall to a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway, a drive that took 20 minutes. This is where the alleged assault took place. The FAC's description of the residence in question, however, combined with public records, confirms that any such residence, to the extent it existed at the time, would have been located outside the territorial boundaries of New York City. As such, assuming the well-pled factual allegations are true, they are not. Again, they are not. Spiro's saying that this is not true. They cannot plausibly state a claim for the relief. So the first point he's arguing is the timelines don't match up. The second point he's arguing that if they're looking to recover damages under this GMV law, that it only protects victims within New York City. And where did this take place? The whole thing about this happening at an after party at a residence, in a white residence with a U-shaped driveway. It sounds like a mansion or an estate or something like that. Possibly in Westchester, possibly in Jersey. Who knows? Just based off of the description, right? If you know New York City, there's kind of nothing really like that in New York, but we don't know. It's still up to the plaintiff to really nail down where this actual assault occurred, and that's unclear. The third thing in this letter that he says that he's going to argue is any viable GMV law claim is time barred under the New York City's Child Victims Act, which preempts plaintiff's GMV law claim. The FAC alleges the conduct occurred 20 plus years ago, well outside the CMV statute of limitations. Though the CVA was amended in 2019 to create a 2-year and 6-month revival period, that period expired in August 2021. So this all has to do again with these acts, which are built to protect victims. There's a statute of limitations. There's a parameters to how they work. So what Spiro is arguing is that this specific complaint, this amended complaint, doesn't act within the parameters set forth by the law. And so, he sent the letter, and Torres and the judge granted the request to file the motion. So all that means is, okay, I read your letter, you can file. That doesn't mean that the judge has decided, but it's like, okay, this is grounds for you. You can file this motion. And remember that the judge was setting parameters on how this goes, right? So then the judge also set a timeline for how this will happen. And I don't know that you can rush this timeline now, right? So Torres granted the request to file the motion. The motion has to be filed by February 6th. By February 28th, the plaintiff is able to file her opposition papers. And then by March 14th, Jay-Z will file a reply to those opposition papers if he has one. And that's how it's going to go. I mean, so it looks like, this thing is proceeding. And not to mention, and look, I'm telling you the facts, but I think it's important here also, what I think doesn't matter, and what's played out in the media doesn't matter. The judge, again, with that December 26th ruling, is really taking control of what's going on, right? I don't think Jay did this. I didn't think so from the beginning. And the CBS News report, again, just to remind you, if y'all remember, CBS News actually interviewed the Jane Doe, and there were inconsistencies in her story. She said her father picked her up after the alleged assault, and he lived 5 hours away approximately from where it happened, from New York City. The father said he didn't recall picking her up. That would be a 10-hour drive, 5 hours there, 5 hours back. Father said he doesn't recall that, which is not, a smoking gun. Also, they're saying, well, the father has certain problems. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be problems between the father and the daughter. But the father not recalling picking his daughter up. The Jane Doe saying that at the party where the assault occurred, she spoke to Benji Madden from Good Charlotte, and Benji Madden's team saying, well, he wasn't there. He was on tour on that date. They were in, I think, Chicago. They were somewhere in the Midwest on tour, so he wasn't there. And she was very specific about speaking with Benji Madden and speaking to him about his Last Supper tattoo. So that wasn't there. There were a number of inconsistencies, and then the inconsistencies or the non-specific, just not being able to specify where the assault took place, and we know based off of pictures and public account that Jay and Diddy were at Club Lotus in New York, which was a popular club, which was an after party. So they were definitely at one after party that wasn't this U-shaped driveway house. If there was another, we don't know. But there were inconsistencies in her story as well. And those haven't come up yet. What Spiro is filing on is none of those inconsistencies. Hasn't gotten to those specifics yet. He's just using the law to his advantage and maybe finding I don't know if loophole is the right word. It might be loophole in the law to, just hey, this is the law works, and what they're filing does not fit under the constructs of what the GMV and the different laws allow. So we'll see. It looks like the next thing that we may know will be on February 6th. So, I just wanted to follow this. It's something I started, and, I definitely want to see it through. I think it's fair to report on the things as they happen, good or bad. You report on things that happen, whether it's in Jay-Z's favor or it's not. So, over the past week, this thing kind of, I guess it was kind of an L for Hove, with the court ruling that, she's not throwing this case out and that the victim can proceed anonymously, at least for now. And then, seems to be a W of sorts in Hove's favor, saying, well, they can file this motion, but we don't know how the judge is going to rule on the motion. It doesn't, we don't know. So the judge is just saying, hey, you can file this motion and we'll consider it, but there's no ruling on it. So we'll follow it. That's it. Like, subscribe, man. Hit me in the comments. Any questions you have, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. You know what I mean? But to the next one. Peace.